With the upcoming Leander ISD Board of Trustees election, it's important to know who the candidates are and what they are for and against.
November 8th is the 2022 Board Trustees election. Places 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7 will be on the ballot for LISD voters to vote on who will fill these positions. All school board positions are 4-year terms and represent the entire school district.
Within the past few weeks, CPHS News reporters were able to interview all but one of the candidates running for the LISD Board of Trustees. This morning, we have our first of the stories to help you find where they stand. Please keep in mind that all the views and opinions expressed by candidates are their own, and some of their claims were not verified by CPHS News.
If you are interested in learning more about the candidates, you can find our full unedited interviews on our YouTube channel. Just search CPHS News.
You can also check out the Wolfcast's paired articles to read the transcribed versions of all the interviews. You can find this at cphsnewswolfpack.com or find the link on our Instagram at CPHS News.
All candidates got the chance to answer the same 10 questions being asked, as well as the same amount of speaking time. To start off, beginning with place number 1, currently held by incumbent Trish Bodie. Bodie has served as a board member since 2015 and is currently the president. She says working in corporate communication has allowed her to spend more than 15 years engaging in legislative advocacy at a state level, which has allowed her to better understand process. This year, a big issue most voters are talking about is district finance. Bodie explains her take on the district's budget practices.
I would say that the school district, in light of those changes, has still continued to work carefully to do conservative budget practice. See what do we really need as a district and where are our dollars going. We will continue as we move forward, or I would advocate and want to continue to be able to look at how do we run, I guess, streamlined and efficient with our budget, but not so much that it's like you're penny wise, pound foolish. You want to make sure that you spend the money where it will really impact our students in the classroom and in your programs. I can tell you the board has said that we want forward-facing classroom positions to be the last positions that we look at eliminating, removing, reducing. But I can also tell you that when you have a budget that is 87% right now of payroll and benefits, and 1% of that is district administration, that means that there's going to be some hard choices.
Bodie is in favor of both Proposition A and B. She wants to continue focusing on student learning, maximizing teacher and staff support, focusing on school finance, and engaging with the community. Running against Bodie for place 1 is David Doman. Doman is a 23-year-old Leander ISD resident with 2 children who went through LISD schools and a granddaughter currently enrolled in kindergarten. He's taught at middle school, high school, and college levels with a budget definition, review, and management history. Doman has personal handling and hiring and firing, and he has also written a college-level electrical engineering textbook. Doman says he is worried about the financial and philosophical direction of the current board and hopes to apply conservative principles if elected.
There are, I believe, 11 assistant school directors right now. That seems a little like overkill to me. There are vastly more counselors than I believe are necessary. But right now we are underperforming in number of teachers that exist in LISD. So the cutting of this vast quantity of school teachers, that's not true. We may not be able to hire as quickly as we should, but there is a future in hiring more teachers with redirecting of funds appropriately. Any dollar that is spent on, do you guys, you're aware of DEI and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Policies like that, whether they are good or bad, detract from the dollar that should be spent on you guys. That's where we need to cut. DEI may be good, it may be bad, but it is being overspent. We want to cut back on items like that.
In regards to Proposition A and B, Doman is in favor of Proposition A and against Proposition B. Also running for place 1 is self-proclaimed conservative Mike Sanders. Sanders and his wife have lived in Leander ISD for the past 11 years, raising their 2 children. Sanders served as a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years. After being honorably discharged, he studied at California Polytechnic State University to earn a degree in electronic engineering. Outside of his regular job of being an electronic engineer for the past 30 years, Sanders volunteers as a pastor for 3 different Spanish-speaking churches, and is an active member of the community by participating in multiple committees and boards. Sanders' campaign has focused on reducing what he calls unnecessary spending and abolishing what he views as explicit material that may be taught inside the classroom.
Our current board members promote the pornography and the obscenity that are in many books in our classrooms and our libraries, and I think that's completely wrong. If you have to be 18, if the movie is rated R, which means if you're 17 and under, you can't even view it without your parents present, why would you put the same material into the hands of teenagers or middle schoolers in a school? It's just wrong. One of the things that I want to stop in our schools is this CRT, critical race theory, where they're teaching kids that you're privileged if you have white skin and you're oppressed if you have black or brown skin. That's just nonsense. The color of your skin doesn't determine whether you're going to be successful or whether you're not going to be successful in life. Don't let anybody tell you that.
As for the district's budget, Sanders is against Props A and B and says he thinks the district needs to make cuts to make up for the budget deficits.
First of all, we don't need to have psychologists and psychiatrists in our schools. A psychiatrist dispenses medicines, mind-altering drugs, okay? That should not happen in a public school setting. If a person needs a psychiatrist, that should be handled by their family. That shouldn't be handled by public schools by any stretch of the imagination. And we don't need psychologists all over all our schools trying to teach people maybe you're a boy trapped in a girl's body, maybe you're a girl trapped in a boy's body. That's just craziness, and we don't need to be teaching children that or young adults that.
As to why the school district is in so much debt, Sanders believes that the bonds the school board keeps passing is causing our district to sink deeper and deeper into debt. Now on to place 6. The first candidate we look at is Francesca Romans. She's a 17-year-old resident of the Leander area with both of her children currently attending schools in the district. Romans says her 2 decades of experience working in public education have prepared her for the role of a board member. Her involvement in the school started as a volunteer crossing guard, a PTSM member, serving on the School Health Advisory Committee, the Community Curriculum Advisory Committee, and the Bond Oversight Committee. Romans says that her campaign aims to amplify student and educator voices while working towards a more respectable and balanced relationship within the community.
If you're going to lead a school district, you should be willing to actually go in and be a part of the classrooms and learn. I think that he's doing a great job with explaining the propositions right now. I know we had an issue with the bond last time and with the outreach and the explanation and people really understanding. I think that he's doing a good job with getting out into the community.
Romans says that she's in favor of both Props A and B passing to support the district's budget needs.
I was really glad to see that the board voted for raises a few months ago. We have to stay competitive with teacher and staff salaries. We have to pay them what they deserve. The state of Texas does not fund our schools. We would not need to call a Vader if the state would actually give our public school systems the money that they can give us. They just won't. The things that we could do if we were funded would be amazing. And this Vader is going to help us do that. We'll be able to keep our class sizes. We'll be able to keep all the teachers and keep all the programs that we need. Because I don't want to see us lose anything.
Another candidate for place 6 includes another longtime Leander resident, Sharon Bell. Bell says she is running because she believes her unique set of skills and experiences can bring a different perspective to the board. A mother to 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren, Sharon started to follow the school board meetings more closely. Bell's career began as a Houston paramedic. She then took those skills to become a college paramedics teacher before later moving to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, training and counseling correctional staff and inmates. Bell says she plans to restore academic excellence and reinstate complete parental authority. One issue she has strong views on, age-appropriate curriculum.
I don't like the pornographic literature that's in the school. That should never be in the hands of a 10-year-old. Mothers and fathers can take care of sexual education very well, and should take care of sexual education very well. That can confuse a child so much when they read something like that. It's like mind-blowing to them. And I just think that we need to get the pornographic books out. I don't think that political statements such as BLM flags should be in the classroom. And I also don't like the way that the sexual education is going. The sexual, what we call, and I almost said it, indoctrination is going. I think that it's being taught way too early. It's being introduced way too early. And we're basically taking their innocence away.
As far as the propositions go, Bell says she isn't a fan of Prop A or Prop B.
I don't like, because it threatens our teachers. If you have a budget problem, you don't cut off the source. You figure something else out. And I think that saying that we're going to eliminate 458 teacher positions, I believe it is, when we were 600 teachers short going into this hiring process, that's not reasonable.
Finally, also running for place 6 is Scott Reese. Reese is a veteran Marine Corps officer with experience as a community volunteer. He received a Bachelor of Science in Communication from Oregon State University and went to earn his MBA in Economics and Marketing Strategies from the University of California, Irvine. Reese is a financial investment strategist with a local real estate and construction management firm. He has also worked on Leander ISD Bond Oversight Committee and hopes to expand his impact on his community by being elected to the Board of Trustees. Reese believes the school board and administration are not presenting Props A and B clearly to the voters.
If we don't pass Prop B, then there's a shortfall, and you hear the team going out saying we're going to fire 480 teachers. The board put us in this position to either pass this or we're going to fire teachers. That's kind of a threat to the voters. You're putting the voter in an unfair position, and if it doesn't pass, you've created a budget structural issue for the administration they have to now deal with. So they say, oh, we're reducing the tax rate, and if you don't let us reduce the tax rate, then we're going to have to terminate teachers. But we're actually increasing the tax dollars. Even though they're reducing the tax rate, the way they're moving money around, it's actually increasing the taxation on each homeowner.
He is also concerned about political activism in the classroom.
My son, who was in 8th grade, and he was home for virtual school, and we were watching him in the living room on virtual school. His teacher was actively promoting him as an 8th grader to go down into Austin and to attend the BLM protests that were happening down there, which I felt was very inappropriate for a teacher to be promoting 8th grade students to that level of activity. At the same time, that teacher was also presenting to my student in every class that we were watching from the living room books on transgender lifestyles and queer lifestyles. And while I respect everyone to live their life, I think it's inappropriate for a teacher to be introducing those ideas to my 13-year-old in the class. And on top of that, this particular teacher was providing outside resources on a Google slide on her classroom webpage. And those resources were 2 clicks to porn sites, to hardcore porn sites.
To start off, beginning with place 2, currently held by VP incumbent Dr. Gloria Gonzalez Delecchia. Gloria comes from a family of migrant farmers and janitors and credits her teachers in public education with changing her life and the trajectory of her family. The support and encouragement of her teachers propelled her to become the first in her family to achieve a college education, a bachelor's degree in biology from Baylor. She went on to get her master's of education in adult learning and distance education from the University of Phoenix, then her doctorate in education with a focus in instructional technology from UT Austin. Professionally, Gloria has served as the chief executive for multiple nonprofits and a corporate foundation and has been responsible for managing sizable budgets. Gonzalez Delecchia believes in giving parents and teachers a stronger voice in district decisions to make improvements. However, Gonzalez Delecchia says that's not what she is seeing happening.
I will say that this election, we're seeing a lot of these wedge issues and super partisan issues coming into the school board discussion that are not school board issues, that are not school board discussions. We need to get back to setting policy, doing governance, supporting our staff and our teachers and our students, and not having the distraction of, people asking, what's your take on women's reproductive rights? What's your take on the border wall? What do you think about this? Those are issues that are these wedge issues that people are trying to push into school board elections.
In regards to Propositions A and B, Gloria is in favor of both of them.
There's two pieces of tax rate that combine to form the tax rate that our district has. It's our maintenance and operation, our interest and shrinking. And you have these two buckets. What we've done with Prop B is significantly decrease the percentage in one bucket and increase in the other. By doing that, we put more in the bucket that allows us to pay teachers. So I think it's really important that we support Prop B so that we have the funds to be able to pay our staff more than what we currently can.
The other person running for place 2 is Brandy Berkman. Brandy is a native Texas and attended the University of Texas. She has worked in the healthcare industry for almost 20 years and currently manages the hospital-based network for one of the state's largest healthcare insurance companies. On top of her job, she homeschools her 10-year-old daughter, a former LISD student. Brandy was compelled to get involved when the school board was considering changes to the medical policy that would have allowed the district to remove a child from campus for a medical procedure and not inform the parents. Since then, Brandy has attended numerous school board meetings, speaking against the obscene book selections, the teaching of critical race theory, social-emotional learning surveys being administered without parental consent, and parental rights violations.
For my middle school daughter, there was exposure to material that she should not have been seeing. I discovered that for one of her classes, she was being sent to the Black Lives Matter website to do assignments. A 12-year-old should not be accessing adult content like that. I also had concerns with the books. Probably more so the sexually graphic books. And I actually had to take what would qualify as teen erotica away from my daughter. And then I ended up having to pull my 10-year-old out, and now I homeschool her.
As far as the propositions go, Berkman says she isn't a fan of Prop A or Prop B.
And I don't appreciate the message that's being sent out that teachers could lose their jobs or that other programs could be impacted. I don't think that that's fair at all, and actually I feel like it's very deceitful. And again, it's a very one-sided message that's being presented by the district. And I've looked at salary data for 5 years to see that we're not, and we have not been putting money into our schools. I looked up Cedar Park High School and Cedar Park Middle School, and salary data for 5 years is stagnant.
Those were the two candidates running for place 2. Now on to place 5. The first candidate running for place number 5 is Dr. Kevin Leverins. CPHS News reached out to Dr. Leverins several times, but he declined to interview. Dr. Leverins is a college educator with a master's and PhD in criminal justice, an Army veteran, a retired Austin police lieutenant, and has served as an intern police chief at a small municipal police department. He received his undergraduate degree in economics in 1992 from Murray State University and went on to earn his master's and doctorate in criminal justice from Texas State University. He now works privately as a law enforcement consultant and teaches college courses on a host of criminal justice topics. His campaign focuses on protecting kids, disciplining bullies, engaging police resources to support emergency plans, and ensuring a safe, neutral teaching environment. Leverins believes we need to remove critical race theory and make classrooms a bias-free environment with no radical ideologies. The second person running for place 5 is Sean Legge. Legge owns his own medical business within the district, and his daughter attends one of the local LISD high schools. Legge has been an entrepreneur and business consultant for the last 22 years. He is a principled conservative that believes in fiscal responsibility and common sense solutions. Legge wants to return our school district to a state of financial responsibility and provide property tax relief to LISD taxpayers. He also believes that sex and critical race theory should not be talked about in the classroom, as well as the obscene pornographic books in our school district. Legge failed to state his stance on Proposition A, but mentioned his dislike for Proposition B.
It's a tax increase of $99.1 million in the middle of a recession. And low-income and medium-income families will be hardest hit by a tax increase. We've seen an unbelievable increase in property values in Austin, Texas over the last 2 years. To add a pillow top of an additional 35% increase to the budget, which is derived from property taxes, is, in my opinion, not fair to the voters. I don't think that in this time of a recession we should be asking the general public to add an extra $99 million and increase their property taxes for a system, the current LISD system, which is failing our students, failing in that only 52% can read on grade level.
As to why the school district is in so much debt, Legge says there are problems rooted in the district's spending issues.
There's over 42,000 kids in our current district, and so we have a budget of over $400 million. That's a lot of money, right? And so we need to manage that appropriately. We've not looked to spending cuts in the way that we manage our affairs. We keep adding on, thinking that we're kids in the candy store and we can have every little perk we want for our schools. Used to be we could build a school for $45 or $50 million. We now build it for $180 million. We add more and more spending on the backs of moms and dads that are barely getting by, and we think we can just stick it to those parents and ask them for more and more money every year.
The third person running for Place 5 is incumbent Shade Fashikun. Fashikun was appointed to the board just last year in October and was the first black trustee in the district's history. Fashikun earned a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from the University of Lagos, a Master of Business Administration from Carnegie Mellon University, and a Juris Doctor from the Seattle University School of Law. She worked at Microsoft Corporation for more than 20 years and is now a small business owner of an insurance agency. In Leander ISD, Fashikun was a literacy partner, mentor, tutor, PTSA treasurer, and PTSA president. She served on the district school health advisory committee and bond oversight committee. Fashikun also volunteers on the Cedar Park Economic Development Board and the Bond Advisory Task Force. Fashikun is results-driven and wants students, teachers, and parents to feel they have a voice. This year, the district's finance has been a hot election topic. Fashikun explains her take on the district's budget practices.
We've had to build so many new schools in such a short period of time in the past. Bonds were taken for that. Based on the state rules, they took out capital appreciation bonds. That's what the board did at the time, and that was the tool they had at their disposal. Those bonds are very expensive, so we're still paying that off as quickly as possible while taking the common interest bonds. The state right now this year is estimated to fund less than 10% of our district. We as taxpayers are funding over 80% of our district. That doesn't make sense.
Fashikun is in favor of both Propositions A and B and says it's the most fiscally responsible thing to do.
It's the right thing to do for the students to make sure that you maintain good class sizes, the programs you love stay. It is good for our teachers because we can afford the raises that they've been given. The state has not funded cost of living increases. So this is pretty much our way of funding cost of living increases. We've been very efficient and lean on our expenses, especially as it pertains to the administration. We saved over $19 million last year from unfilled positions last school year. So we already know what it would have been like if we did not give that 5% raise.
Those were the three candidates running for Place 5. Now on to Place 7. The first candidate running for Place number 7 is Joseph Gorodo. Gorodo was born in Austin and raised in South Texas by a family of full, committed, and passionate educators. He is a vocal and passionate member of the recovery community who has been sober for 14 years. On a professional level, he has dedicated his life to working as a licensed chemical dependency counselor to bring hope and healing to individuals who are struggling with alcohol and drug abuse. As one of the leading substance abuse and mental health experts in Texas, Gorodo has had the opportunity to speak publicly about his recovery to a wide variety of groups across the country, and he is currently president-elect for the Texas Association of Addiction Professionals. Gorodo explains why the district is in the financial situation to begin with.
Leander ISD is a very big school district, covers 220 square miles. And over the last 10 years, the amount of people that have moved to this area is massive. We're in one of the fastest growing counties in the whole country. So with that growth, with more students to serve, with the need for more schools, money has to be spent. I think that financially the district has been managed very well considering the rapid growth, considering the economic impact of COVID, considering the rising home prices here and the cost of living. You know, everything costs more today than it did 2 years ago.
As for the propositions, Garoto is in favor of both Props A and B.
It's basically just a financial tool to get money from here to here. So I'm in support of that. You know, I see so much of what we spend money on is not education. You know, we've always got money for, I'm gonna get super political here. We've always got money for wars and, you know, military spending and just billions of dollars every year, no problem. We should be the same way about our schools, about you guys, you know. Eventually you guys will run the country and hopefully take care of us, or, you know, me when I'm old. And I want you guys to have the education and the tools to do whatever it is you want to do. So I think that's worth investing in.
The second person running for place 7 is Paul Gauthier. An interview was conducted with Gauthier, however, the camera recording malfunctioned and only recorded the audio. Gauthier is currently a Republican theater arts teacher who stands for fiscal responsibility and school accountability. Gauthier says he wants to ensure our schools are a safe place for learning for all children, that the curriculum reflects our true and accurate history, and that social agendas stay out of the classroom. Gauthier has spent countless hours at the LASD school board meetings over the last 2 years and has attended several state board education meetings to shine light on the issues he sees going on in our schools.
Propaganda I saw all over the school, which should not be allowed, but they're doing it anyway. It seemed like this group doesn't seem to care about the rules. The board, that is. I would say B, they spent money they didn't have, and I don't want to bail them out. When we had $282 million last year in revenue, 12% of that went to the administration level. If you were to cut that down to 20%, that'd roughly be about $20 million, which is almost the raise of what the teachers would get now at $30 million. So yes, B is a bailout again, and I don't want to give them that to them. I'd rather look at all the other ways to actually help the students and the teachers.
Gauthier is against both Props A and B. He shares where our financial debt comes from and what he believes we should cut.
2007, they passed a bond for $235 million, and they really started to ramp up the debt. The district was growing, but after the 2008 crash, it was hard to get money. In order to do that, they had to start using these bonds with a very high interest rate. And that's part of the reason why we are in such a debt. In fact, we pay $80 million in interest alone. And essentially, they're spending like there's no tomorrow.
The third person running for place 7 is incumbent Alexis Grimes. Grimes serves as a board secretary and aims to achieve academic excellence with a balanced approach to parent and community collaboration. Grimes graduated from New Mexico State University with a bachelor's degree in hotel, restaurant, and tourism management. Before moving to Austin, Grimes taught classes at El Paso Community College. When she was a young single mother, Grimes learned the value of hard work while going to college, raising a son, and working full-time. In her role as trustee, she actively sought opportunities to support other young parents continue with their education by advocating for programs like Acts of Love. Grimes wants to empower teachers to teach, parents to parent, and students to learn. With the current LASD budget in mind, Grimes discusses where she thinks the future budget cuts will come from.